Every anime fan has someone in their lives telling them they're a filthy casual if they haven't watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Now, we don't use the C word here at GetintheRobot, casual. But for real, y'all should watch JoJo because it's wild. And before you ask, yes, this is a JoJo's reference. Look, I get it. With 8 manga arcs and 5 anime series, JoJo's is a lot. And I'm just talking volume. There's also the hyper-stylized look of the show, the changing protagonists, and the sheer number of people with Jo in their name. But there's nothing to be afraid of. Believe me when I say it's worth it. The perfectly coiffed hair, unlike mine, sorry, I was trying. Especially Jo's case. The wild color shifts, the 4D chess that goes on in every single fight scene, it's so freaking worth it because all of those things are what makes JoJo's JoJo's. It's a beloved series for a reason. So I'm gonna warm you up with some things that really capture the spirit of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be ready to dive in. Now, we can't talk about JoJo without talking about its mangaka, Hirohiko Araki. Araki is a legend for many reasons, and just one of them is his ability to fit male cleavage into just about every one of his character designs. My hero. This guy has been writing and drawing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for over 30 years, and when you consider how many twists, turns, and straight up baffling diversions the story has gone through in that time, you have to admit that Araki is kind of an evil genius. I'm not going to try to summarize the plot of JoJo for you, yet. But let it be known that Araki's imagination is so impressive that he's devised at least 3 systems of power for the JoJo universe. On top of that, each series takes place in a different place and introduces a new protagonist from the JoStar line. The beauty of JoJo is that it's been running for so long that you get to watch Araki himself grow and change as an artist. Considering episode 1 starts with 2 strapping young men in the English countryside, and the most recent series pops off with an epic dance number starring some misfit gangsters, or gang stars, you can see just how much ground the series has covered. From vampires to stands, we'll get to those more later, and the nen-like power of Hammond, Araki is always ready to drop a new world-shaking element into his work. And while the world of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure might not be as airtight as One Piece, for example, I mean, does anyone remember the ancient race of the Pillar Men? It's still awesome to just sit back and enjoy the ride through Araki's wild imagination. To love JoJo is to love Araki's weird brain. So welcome, Araki! You get the first spot in our starter pack. As absurd and absurdly awesome as JoJo's is, you really can jump in anywhere. Still, with the complicated family tree, multiple power mechanics, and just generally over-the-top nature of all of JoJo's, it can be overwhelming to even press play on the first episode. So I'm picking out one special JoStar, Jotaro, for this spot in our starter pack. He'll be able to give you a solid and really fun introduction to the series. Jotaro Kujo may not have the JoStar surname, but he's got both Joes, so that's all that matters, really. This JoJo is half Japanese and spends his early life as a bad boy in a slick school uniform before heeding the call of his bloodline. In the beginning of Part 3, Stardust Crusaders, we learned that Dio has been reborn. With Dio walking the earth again, the JoStar line must uphold their duty to destroy him. As a result, Jotaro manifests his stand, which is basically the personification of his willpower, spirits, and fighting energy. Stands are arguably one of the most recognizable aspects of the series, and they first appear in Stardust Crusaders. With stands, Araki brings new and wildly imaginative powers to the show. My personal favorite is Pearl Jam. I mean, look at him. He's a little evil tomato. But I also love the manga dude Rohan Kishiba's stand, Heaven's Door. And shout out to the Invisible Baby. Stands aside, Stardust Crusaders is just a great entry point into the series. It's packed full of amazing characters that really show off Araki's skill and sense of humor. And the first few episodes pretty much follow a Monster of the Week format, so it's easy to dive in. You really don't need the whole dead dog / evil vampire / hot mom backstory from the first 2 series to enjoy Crusaders. And you'll quickly learn the golden rule of JoJo's.
Wait, what do you mean dead dog?
I don't want to spoil. It's good for you to just associate yourself with the term dead dogs. And you'll quickly learn the golden rule of JoJo's. It doesn't have to make sense, as long as it looks cool. Jotaro has also earned his spot in our starter pack because he appears in Diamond is Unbreakable and Golden Wind Parts 4 and 5, respectively. So once you fall in love with this smooth operator, there's plenty more of him to be had in the other series. Jotaro also personifies what it means to be a JoJo. He's cool, he's clever, he's a great strategist, and sometimes in moments of weakness, he's a big goof. And I gotta point out his ridiculous hairdo and over-the-top school uniform too. You know, I bet that live-action movie will solve the eternal mystery of where Jotaro's hair begins and where his hat ends. As far as I'm concerned, Jotaro is the platonic form of JoJo's. So if you've been looking for an entry point, there you go. Check out Jotaro's adventures in Stardust Crusaders. So far, this starter pack has been a little too normal to truly capture the spirit of JoJo's. Sure, cool protagonists and talented creators are crucial to making any successful series, but there's something else so iconic, so essential to the series that even newbies need to understand its significance, which is why I'm putting this unsightly birthmark in the next spot. Now I can hear you saying, just get that thing lasered off. And hey, I know there's Groupons for that, but this birthmark is special. Every member of the Joestar clan has one somewhere on their body, usually on their shoulders. It's a symbol of the Joestar's enduring legacy. Why is it in the starter pack? Well, aside from the fact that all of the JoJo's have one, it also represents the multi-generational aspect of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Every series has a different protagonist, and though they're each very different, that Joestar blood pumps through their veins, and they have a conveniently shaped birthmark on their backs. The multi-generational thing is important because it really gives a sense of the scope of the series. So let's take a quick look at where this family tree gets its start. The Joestar clan started out as a wealthy and powerful family in England. With their lavish mansion in the English countryside, the Joestars were living large until an evil guy named Dio Brando turned himself into a vampire and basically forced his rival, Jonathan Joestar, to burn down the ancestral home. As if Dio wasn't evil enough, he threw Jonathan's dog into an incinerator.
That's what they mean with the dead dogs. That's
At least you don't see it. I mean, I'm just preparing you guys for this. So began a generations-long fight against Dio and a disturbing serious staple of dog deaths. Dio's like Voldemort. He just keeps coming back no matter how many times you kill him. The Joestars are said to be the chosen warriors against evil. It's their duty to fight every generation's incarnation of Dio for all dogs everywhere. This whole Chosen One business can also explain the Joestars' proficiency with Hammond and their powerful stands. If you take my advice and kick it off with Stardust Crusaders, you'll see Jotaro's stand, Star Platinum, manifest for the first time. And of course, you'll also see Jotaro sporting that sign of his lineage, a star-shaped birthmark. So slap that birthmark into our starter pack and let's move on to something that every episode of JoJo's has, a pop culture reference. To be fair, most episodes are so jam-packed with references that you'll probably spot more than one. Araki is a huge consumer of media, and his love for everything from Western music to action movies to classic literature comes through in JoJo's. But what makes JoJo's pop culture references particularly great is that the characters themselves don't seem to know they're walking, talking references. Most stands names can be traced to something we know and love. In Stardust Crusaders, the stands are named after the tarot, and they usually embody some aspect of the tarot card's meaning. Wheel of Fortune is a vehicle-based stand, and Strength is a giant, powerful freighter. Then there's the many stands named after songs and musicians. I love those. More on that later. References creep into characters' names as well. Take Robert E.O. Speedwagon, for example. You can't miss that nod to the 70s band. And Araki has even said that the designs for Jonathan Joestar and Dio were based on Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. So basically, a match made in heaven. You can spot smaller pop culture Easter eggs too. Dio can be seen drinking from a bottle that says Cronenberg, a reference to the Videodrome director, and Dead Zone, a Stephen King movie. Abdul cares for 3 chickens named Prince, Michael, and Lionel, after Prince, Michael Jackson, and Lionel Richie. Good Boy Iggy is named after Iggy Pop. Josuke's Crazy Diamond takes its name from the Pink Floyd song Shine On, Crazy Diamond. And if you look really closely, you can even spot Waldo. Araki's references are so wide-ranging that the creator's deep love of pop culture and surprising taste can be felt in every moment of the show. And that's one of the things I love most about JoJo. It's an elaborate tapestry of Hollywood films, 80s rock bands, and even 18th century British literature. It's one long love letter to pop culture, while also being a ridiculously important cultural force in and of itself. All those references are just another reason to watch. I promise that you'll find your footing in this weird world sooner than you think, but it doesn't hurt to hear some familiar names along the way. If you're down with a pop culture reference, you'll be down with JoJo's. This spot in our starter pack is related to pop culture, but is such an important part of the series that it gets its own section. Yep, I'm talking about music. Not only is the show peppered with the names of bands, musicians, and songs, but its opening and closing credits are always stacked with great and surprising jams. JoJo's OPs are classic anime. Slow pans over the protagonist's impossibly ripped bodies, dramatic color schemes, and because it's JoJo's, a lot of voguing. All of the JoJo's OPs are close to my heart. But when you get to the closing credits, you'll get slapped across the face with another little bit of JoJo absurdity. Usually a banger that's somehow related to the show. Stardust Crusaders has Walk Like an Egyptian, Diamond is Unbreakable features Savage Garden's I Want You, and the first series has Roundabout, whose bass slap has become a JoJo reference on its own. But perhaps the outro song that best captures the spirit of music in JoJo's is Jodeci's 1995 hit, Freakin' You, a smooth R&B jam about banging it out. What does Freakin' You have to do with a bunch of gang stars? Absolutely nothing. But the song was topping the charts around the same time that the Golden Wind arc was being serialized. In that way, the series itself starts to feel like one long playlist, with Araki's favorite jams streaming over all of those menacing moments and over-the-top fight scenes. Each arc is a little time capsule for what Araki was listening to when he made it. And more often than not, the musicians and songs characters are named after relate to how they look or act in JoJo's. YouTuber Xforts has a great video that breaks down some of these multi-layered references, so for a deeper dive, definitely check that out. Killer Queen is one of my favorite stands, and Xforts points out that this stand and its user, Yoshikage Kira, are references to Queen and David Bowie, respectively. Both Bowie and Queen played on Under Pressure, and Xforts says that the lyrics and the whole vibe of the song permeate Kira's arc, and he makes a pretty compelling argument. So if you're not blown away by the number of shoutouts to Araki's favorite musicians, take a moment to appreciate just how much Araki lets these artists' sensibilities permeate his own creative work. If you love music, or if you just like trying to decipher the botched translations of copyright song names in the sub, tune in. I'm looking at you, Moody Jazz, or Worst Company, or the Senyata Mondata brothers. We kick things off by talking about Araki, but there's a part of JoJo's fandom that may even transcend the creator himself. Of course I'm talking about the memes. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has got to be one of the most memeable shows of all time. I don't know why I dabbed. Everything is dramatic and hyper-stylized. The style is so striking, it's like being hit with a steamroller. And the absurdity helps too. If you watch JoJo's, you'll be blessed with a meme for any occasion. Did you see your ex on the subway? Oh, no! Feeling inspired? Want a booty drop with your crew while also scaring off passersby? And that's just scratching the surface. Even the sound effects in JoJo's have been embraced by the internet. There's one meme in particular that's a bit more menacing than others. If you're not making a meme from some memorable JoJo's moments, you can probably make a JoJo's reference using any meme template. In fact, I challenge you to find a meme template that can't be used to make a JoJo's reference. For real though. But memes are one of those things that get less cool the more you try to explain them, so I'll just point you to the World Wide Webs. It's a vast, rich treasure trove of JoJokes. If you need a place to start, there's always my favorite not safe for work subreddit, Post Crusaders. But beware, it's full of spoilers and off-color jokes. Where does that leave us? With a starter pack full of JoJo's particular brand of fabulosity. We've got Araki himself, Best Boy Jotaro, the unsightly but powerful birthmark, some references, some good jams, and a meme. Always gotta end it with a meme. I hope you feel ready to dive into a bizarre adventure of your own. And if you're already a JoJo's fan, leave suggestions in the comments for what would go in your JoJo starter pack. And don't forget to subscribe to GetintheRobot. Come on in, it's comfy in here.